Today's game harkens back to a simpler time before we carried the sum of all human knowledge in our pockets. Back then you were only given one day's worth of information at a time, it was printed on paper, and delivered to your home by means of child labor. Let's take a trip back to those glory days with Penny Press. Penny Press is a game for 2 to 5 players from Asmadi Games, in which each player takes on the role of a newspaper mogul trying to steal the best headlines, create the best front page, and sell the most newspapers. Now, journalistic integrity really doesn't come into play here, and you're trying to up that circulation by any means necessary. Let's take a look. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to get their player mat here on which they're going to build their front page. Everybody plays a different newspaper, and they're going to get their 5 matching reporter meeples to chase down different stories. You see the board, you see the point tracker going around the top and the sides. You have the bonus track for all the different stories there. And then you have your 5 news beats. You have war, you have crime and calamity, which is the gun, politics, local New York news, and human condition, which for some reason, I guess, is most perfectly represented in sports with the baseball there. So those are the 5 news beats you're going to be tracking down. And underneath those, you have all the different stories. Now you see here, each news beat has 4 different shapes of corresponding stories, and each shape has 3 different tiles, each one with stars, 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, and these are going to come into play in order, starting with the 1 star and working your way down to 3. On initial setup, we're going to flip these headline cards, and they're going to tell us which of these stories are going to come into play. So you flip these cards, the way you read these, you have your bonus, and whatever it shows there, you move that up on the bonus track, and that's going to refer to end of game scoring. Then you bring up the stories that the card tells you. So this one we get the A-shape crime and calamity story, the D-shape politics, and the B-shape human condition. You see down here you have an advertisement. That comes into play later when we flip more of these cards. At the beginning of the game, you ignore it. All you do at the beginning of the game is flip one of these cards for each player and seed the board with the initial stories. I've gone ahead and seeded the board for a 4-player game. After that initial setup, play is ready to begin. On each player's turn, there are 4 different things they can do. They can assign the reporters to any story, and if you're assigning reporters, you can assign any number. You can put down 1, you can put down 2, you can put down all 5 if you want. Any number of reporters can go down on a story. The second thing you can do is reassign reporters from one story to another. Now, if you're going to reassign, you can only reassign 1 reporter, so you can just take 1 reporter off a story that they're on and move them to another. Your third option is to recall as many reporters you want from any stories you have on the board. So if I want to recall, I could say I'm taking this guy back and this guy back. And you're going to cycle through with each player, assigning, reassigning, or recalling. After each action, we're going to adjust the news beats. And to adjust the news beat, all you have to do is look at each one and raise the point arrow here 1 space for each story being covered. So in human interest, we only have 1 story covered, so that goes up 1. Here we have 2 reporters on this story, but still just 1 covered, so that goes up as well. This one we have 2 stories covered, that goes up 2. This one would go up 1. And this one would go up 2. And as those move around on each player's turn, those would be adjusted. The 4th option players have on their turn is to go to press. And by going to press, you claim all the stories that you have control of, and you build your front page on your paper. When you go to press, you are going to be able to take every story off the board where you are at least tied for the most reporters at that story. So let's say right now Orange wanted to go to press, and let's say he was here too. You had a guy here too. If Orange went to press, they would be able to take this story because they're tied, and this story. They won't get this one because the black reporter has 2 on there. Orange only has 1. The orange reporter would be able to claim all 4 of those stories. The players who had reporters on those stories wouldn't be left empty-handed. If you look at this small S arrow on the marker here, that represents scoop points. If you get scooped for a story, if someone takes it out from under you while you have a guy there, then you get that many points. Whatever that small arrow is pointing to, these small numbers on the track, you're going to score that many scoop points before the story's taken. But after that, all the meeples are returned. The claim stories are taken off. And now it's time to build the front page. To build your front page, you just take all the stories that you earned by going to press and try to fit them on your front page sheet as best you can, however you can do that. Now you have to give priority to certain stories based on what's highest on the point track, but otherwise you're just trying to squeeze these on however you can and cover up as many of those negative spaces. If you do leave negative space, those are going to subtract from your score. Let's say this is what you finally have. You would add these up. Whichever point level each story category was at is what you would score. You would subtract the negative points there from your total score. And also, any stories that you couldn't place, you would score negative of what they were at on the Newsbeat track. So say the New York local stories were at 3 points. Not placing these would cost you -3 points apiece. The stories you couldn't fit on your front page, you discard. Anything that you could place gets kept, and you hold on to those for end of game score. After that's been taken care of, everything on the front page is resolved, you will flip another headline card. These are pretty cool, I didn't show them before, but each one has a real news story on it with some real newsprint, so it adds a little something neat to the game where you're actually dealing with real news stories at the time. But you would again move the bonus track, however far it tells you to. You would flip out news stories, put them on the board, and at this point you would get an advertisement. And an advertisement is basically just going to take up space on your paper. You look at where the advertisement tells you to go, and you pick that row on your card based on how many times you're going to press. Every time you go to press, you put one of these pennies on your board to show you've done it. So whatever highest level penny you're at, that's the column that your advertisement is going to go in. The next time you go to press, it's going to block that -1, but it's not going to score you any points, and you're going to have to work around that when you're building your front page. Depending on the numbers of players in a game, the final addition, which is the end game, will be triggered when one player goes to press for the 3rd or 4th time. When someone goes to press for that final time and the final addition is triggered, all these arrow markers immediately flip to show they won't move anymore. They're going to be frozen for the rest of the game. The player who went to press takes his go to press action, he builds his front page, does all his scoring, and then he's out of the game. Every other player remaining has one more chance to either take another action or go to press themselves. Anyone who goes to press that round is also out, they're finished, and then after that, there's one more round where any remaining players can now go to press. Once that final turn is finished, you go to final scoring. Final scoring is very simple. You just look up here at the bonus track and start at the lowest number and working your way up. You look and see who collected the most stars on their stories for each one of the categories, each one of the news beats. So you count those stars up. Whoever has the most stars, not the most stories, but the most stars, is going to score that many points for that news beat. You tally up each news beat, add up all the final points, and whoever has the highest score is the most successful newspaper baron, and that's how you play Penny Press. I've really enjoyed playing Penny Press. I did an unboxing video, so if you want to hear me talk about component quality and the look of the game, go watch that. But I can tell you that there's no complaints. It's a very good looking game, very high component quality. But it's also very fun to play. The game really captures that theme, like you're sending guys out competing for news stories, pushing the other people out of the way. Very easy to teach. Basically, you have 3 actions you're doing every turn, building to a more complicated 4th action that happens every once in a while. Experienced players are going to enjoy that competitive aspect to it, but you can also bring in newer players and just teach them how to play, and depending on the kind of player they are and their personality, they can just really latch onto it because there's so much within those few actions. The game is kind of cutthroat, but not in a mean stab you in the back kind of way, but in a real cerebral, strategic kind of way. I need that story, and you're going after that, so I have to move my go over there. And within those few actions, you got a lot of decisions to make. You got to decide on your turn, are you going to maximize your move and really set yourself up for a great front page, or are you going to try and block the person who's probably about to go to press on their turn? You got to decide how you want to score. Are you going to focus on scoring off your front page and building the best stories? Or are you going to try and collect the most stories that are higher up on the bonus track and score big points at the end? On top of all of that, you have the spatial element of actually building your front page. So there may be stories you have available to you, uncontested, they'll score you big points, but you're not going to be able to put them on your page. So there's all kinds of elements within a very simple framework, a lot of different things going on. So there's all kinds of decisions to make. It's very fun. I really like this game, had a great time with it. There's a variant game called the Newsboy Strike, and I haven't played it. It seems kind of tacked on just so they could find something to do. It incorporates this really neat looking Newsboy Mini that looks neat, but really doesn't have any practical application to the game. If you like those competitive brain burnings to tactical games, I think you're really going to want to check out Penny Press. Okay, everybody, thanks so much for watching this review of Penny Press. Please leave me a comment, tell me what you thought. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter. You can also go and watch some of our older videos on YouTube, Facebook, Board Game Geek, or www.alteregogames.net. Alteregogames.net, not only can you watch our videos there, but also you can buy some great games at some really great prices, so check them out. You're going to get some great deals on the games you want to buy. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Until next time, have fun out there.